The last part to linear equations that I wanted to review with you were questions that involved possibly using the distributive property. So what I'm going to do is go through two examples with you, but for each example, I'm going to show you two possible methods of how you might want to solve it. So the first method, I'll use the distributive property, so most likely the method that you were taught in class, and then I'll show you a second method that you can possibly use in the future as well. So method one for the first example, if I were to use the distributive property, then I know that this 3 gets multiplied inside the brackets. So I would have 3 times x, and then I would have 3 times negative 2, which would give me negative 6. Once I apply the distributive property, now I end up with an equation that hopefully you'll recognize that this was the type we practiced in the last video. So this is the type of question that involves two steps. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get the term with the variable by itself. So I'm going to imagine taking that negative 6 and then moving it to the right-hand side. So I'm going to move this over. I will get 3x is equal to 3. Remember, when you move it, switches signs. So I'll get 3 plus 6, which means I get 3x is equal to 9. So then for me to solve this, I know I have to undo the multiplication by 3. Those will cancel out, balance it. I would get that x is equal to 3. All right, so now I'm going to show you method 2, and there's not really like a fancy way to explain it, but basically I'll just say this is where you want to isolate the brackets. So method 2 is where if I look at the equation, I want to think about, is there a way for me to somehow just get the brackets by themselves first? So if I look, this is still being multiplied by 3, right? So I'm going 3 times these brackets. Well, so instead, here's the difference. Instead of me distributing that 3, I'm actually going to divide by 3, because then these two will cancel out. And I know if I do one thing to one side on an equation, you have to balance it. So then I would also divide this side by 3. So then my next line will end up looking like this. So now I would have x minus 2 is equal to 1. And you'll notice I dropped the brackets because now there's nothing in front, right? So if I had that, that's fine. It just kind of looks funny. It's like there's a 1 in front. So if there's no value in front of the brackets, you don't need them. So I drop the brackets. And then I'm going to isolate my x. So get x by itself. And I know that I can take this negative 2. I'm going to think of adding 2 to both sides. I like to think of just moving it. So I will get x is equal to 1 plus 2. Whenever I move it over, sign has to switch. And then if you notice, we will get the exact same answer. So again, method 1 was the method that you were taught in class. Method 2, you might have seen this before, maybe you figured it out on your own. And basically from this point on, when you continue with grade 9 math, grade 10, 11, 12, etc., we're not going to force you to solve by this method or this method. So you can use whatever method makes more sense to you. Okay, so let's try the second question. And again, I'm going to show you the two methods. Starting with method 1 again. So this time we have the brackets on the right-hand side, but I'll notice there's a negative 5 in front. So distributive property tells me to multiply it all the way through. So I'm going to say that's like having negative 15, and then negative 5 times p, it's like having negative 5p. The brackets can disappear. I don't need to hang on to them anymore. And then I still have this minus 20 on the left-hand side. Okay, I need to get the term with the variable by itself. So I am going to take this minus 15 and move it over here. That's going to give me negative 20 plus 15 is equal to negative 5p. I can clean this up. Negative 20 plus 15, I will get negative 5. So negative 5 is supposed to equal negative 5p. So then to solve for p, I'm going to divide this side by negative 5. Those will cancel out. Balance your equation, divide this side by negative 5, and this one will end up giving me an answer that 1 is equal to p. All right, let's look at method 2. So again, if I think of it as wanting to isolate the brackets, So I want to get this by itself first. So I realize there's a -5. I can divide this side by -5. That means these will cancel out. Balance, divide this side by -5. -20 divided by -5 will give me 4. So I'll have 4 is equal to that 3 plus p. And I don't need the brackets anymore. And then I'm trying to get the variable by itself. So then I realize that I can then move that 3 over. And the positive 3 will become a negative. And if I clean it up, I will also get that 1 is equal to p. So again, 2 different methods, 2 different ways that you could solve that question. What I might suggest, if method 2 is new to you, so if you've never seen this method before, maybe as you try the practice worksheet, maybe try a question using method 1, then maybe try the next one using method 2, and then that way you can kind of figure out which one you think you might actually prefer. Other than that, practice worksheets listed below. Again, usual, try the sheet, check your answer, and let me know you're good to go, you're so-so, or you need some additional support. Have a nice day.